is James Shannon. I make rap music, but I kind of, I like to experiment with a lot of kind of like R&B and indie, and a lot of kind of alternative kind of music as well. I've been making music for about 5 or 6 years now, but it's only recently that I've kind of started to experiment a bit and kind of like reach out of what I originally started doing, kind of to try new things. It's kind of me, you know.
So you've recently released, last June, a single called "For My Generation." Can you maybe talk a bit about it? Like, what's the meaning behind it, your inspiration behind it?
Yeah. So For My Generation, I suppose the meaning behind it is kind of like, it's just a song about, kind of my generation really, and all the kind of stuff we'd be going through with in regards to like, problems that are created that we have to kind of like deal with, because from other generations creating problems for us and how we have to kind of deal with them, and about how we're the future in that, I suppose, I produced the song myself with help from a lad in England named Philip Marsden. He's very good. It was kind of like, I don't know, because I feel like for me at the time I was kind of like reaching out of what I normally would do, because a lot of the music I normally make is more kind of like, sad and preachy, I suppose. I'm kind of trying to move away from that, but with that one I was kind of trying to make more of a hopeful song. And it's basically a message to anyone who's around, my age, kind of just to, keep going and fuck the older generations, kind of, and we're gonna make change, kind of, generate change, I suppose,
What's your creation process like? Like, do you have some sort of like ritual, or does it come natural to you?
When I'm making music?
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes naturally. Sometimes I'll sit down and I'll have a beat already made, or someone will send me one, or I'll even just be working on a riff or like just a beat myself, and just kind of the lyrics and the concept will just come like that. Other times it can be a bit like a ritual, like, I'll sit down and I'll put like a lot of time and hours into making an instrumental, and then afterwards I'll kind of like really think for a good while about like, what can I say on this that's going to have substance or something. Or other times I'll have an idea, like I want to make a song about this topic or about this experience I've had, to try and connect with people through that experience. And that'd be more kind of the ritual side. But in terms of the creative process, the ritual would be kind of, it used to be kind of like just I'd get beats off other people, or I'd just like get them off YouTube or something and just like write to those. But now it's kind of more like, I like to create my own beats, because I think I started producing when I was 18, and since then I've just been kind of practicing that. Like I'd always be working on demos in Ableton and that, but now I'm kind of moving towards playing a lot of more live instruments and stuff, and getting session musicians to play and stuff. And I'm really enjoying that process at the moment. But the ritual of it kind of, it changes a lot, you know what I mean? Like it changes, but the main thing I suppose is I always want what I'm creating to have some sort of substance in terms of the instrumentation and the instrumentals, and also the lyrics, like, you know what I mean?
Do you usually write your music based on your personal experience?
Most of the time. Like there is kind of there is times where I just want to make enjoyable music, like for like, I suppose examples of that, like of what I've released at the moment For My Generation kind of fall into that. Like I'm not, speaking from any specific personal experience, but I suppose a lot of the stuff I'm kind of working on that I haven't put out yet, it is kind of just more enjoyable stuff. But most of the time, like nine times out of 10, I'm speaking on personal experience. Do you know what I mean?
Who would you say is your biggest influence in your music?
I mean, that it kind of changes, to be honest. But if I was to pick one specific artist who's kind of really influenced me in the past while in terms of my music, probably have to be either Mac Miller, Frank Ocean, or Kojak, who's an Irish rapper, and he's very good. You know.
You're from Dublin, right?
Yeah.
So Dublin is pretty rich regarding like its culture and everything. Would you say that being from there has impacted your music?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I suppose with my music, like, although I would take most of my inspiration from, kind of artists in like England and America, and England, America, beyond, like, you know what I mean? I always wanted to be authentic in the fact that I am speaking from the perspective of someone who's from Dublin, like, you know what I mean? I always wanted to be authentic in that sense. You mentioned there, like, Dublin is, like, it's really rich with music and culture and all this, and there's so many great artists coming out of the city, like, and even the whole country, like, there's great artists coming out of Cork and Galway and like everywhere. But I feel like, it is cherished among, like the younger generations. But in terms of like on the larger scale of things, I feel like that culture and that music and that thing we have, I feel like it could be appealing to audiences beyond, but it's just not. There's not enough like emphasis put on it at the moment. Kind of here, like, you know what I mean. And I feel like if there was just more time and like, kind of more spaces in like kind of put aside, and was more just invested in it, we could have such a great platform, and we could be speaking to audiences like beyond the bubble that's kind of here with ease, like, but there's just not enough of that put into it. But at the same time, the kind of the community sense in the music scene here is, brilliant. Like, everyone wants to help everyone, and there's a lot of great music coming out here, and the thing about it is it's all authentically Irish, Dublin and wherever you're from, like, you know what I mean? And I love that, yeah. And I kind of want to have that as well, you know what I mean? That authentic Irish or Dublin spin on everything I do, you know what I mean?
So were you raised like in music?
In my family, definitely. Like, when I was very young, like I started playing like traditional Irish music. I feel like, yeah, most people from Ireland would do that. But around the time I was like 8, 9 or 10, like, I started to pick up the guitar, because my dad, like, ever since I was very young, he's always been like playing a lot of guitar. Like, he'd be into a lot of like the Beatles and Bob Dylan and all that sort of stuff. So I kind of picked that up then, and like I immediately took a lot of interest in it. And I think, yeah, when I was like 10, I started discovering a lot of music outside of what I'd been just hearing on the radio and stuff, like, the likes of the Beatles and Tin Lizzy and, even Eminem and all that sort of stuff when I was very young. And I've always been interested in it. But I suppose the first time I kind of like started saying, like, I'd like to give this a go myself, and I started writing, and I would have been about 14. But I was definitely raised around music. Like, a lot of people in my family could sing and play instruments and all that sort of stuff, and I've always had it around the house, kind of. So I suppose that kind of like did help influence a lot of what I listened to. Yeah.
So I was wondering, how was the quarantines for you? Like, I really can't imagine how annoying it is for like artists, especially for artists, to be stuck at home and not being able to perform their music and to see their audience and stuff. Mm-hmm. So how was it for you? Did you also like took advantage of it to like maybe create some music?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when the restrictions first came in terms of the quarantine and that, like, prior to that, like, I was really kind of getting out, and I was getting a lot of gigs, and I was still creating stuff at home, but I was just getting more opportunities to kind of experiment how that would be live. And I was meeting a lot of people, building up a stage presence and that, and obviously suddenly that just wasn't there anymore. Now, at the time of that, I was working on a project called The Night Before, Morning After, and I did end up putting that out. And like, it went well, but I would have rather had the opportunity to kind of promote that in live settings. The only benefits that came from the quarantine for me, though, I feel like I did get to improve, just my musicianship, like like very much, like, you know what I mean? I was always at home just either playing guitar or making like beats or writing, or, you know, for a full year, just always doing that, like all the time, like, you know what I mean? Now, like it was hard at times, like, because it was like, you know, where's this going? Like, you know what I mean? I can't put this out or promote it or in any way, but it just gave me a good experience with, you know, kind of really being more critical of what I was doing, and yeah, definitely building on my musicianship. So it had its benefits, but I'm just glad now that we're slowly but surely getting to a place where we can have both elements of like being able to work on music and also kind of promote it in live settings and that. And I'm hoping it does improve and get better, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I saw that you were doing shows again.
Yeah.
So how is it like to be back on the road after a long time?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. That one there on the 6th, that was an amazing experience. Like, that was my first time doing a proper live show in about 2 years. And I have to thank Fluttertown, Conor Eve, and the Soundhouse, and Normac, my friend Normac, for that. They really helped me out with making that what it was. That was a great experience. And see, we're actually back in a kind of, there's a lot of restrictions back in place here in Ireland. So
yeah,
the 7th now, like, clubs are closed and every live gig is like postponed again. Like, you know, a lot of people were meant to be going to a lot of shows now in the coming month, like, you know what I mean? And they're all rescheduled. So we managed to dodge that by like literally one day, which I was so thankful for, because it would have been the worst if we weren't able to do that. Yeah, it is amazing to be kind of getting back into that and being on the right track to, you know, playing live again. Like, you know what I mean? Honestly.
Do you feel like the energy of the audience, like before and after COVID, has changed?
Yeah, absolutely. People are just, you know, mad to have a good time and go to everything now. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas before it was kind of I feel like we took a lot of that for granted. Like, I know I did anyway. I took, like, going to gigs and that, like, I took that, like, oh yeah, whatever, like, do you know what I mean? But now I feel like it's much more of a thing people will appreciate. Like, I know for me anyway, like, I've been to, you know, 1 or 2 gigs since COVID has kind of eased off a bit in the past like 2 months, and just being there in the crowd, like, do you know what I mean, you kind of appreciate it a lot more. And yeah, the energy is definitely a lot better. So I'm not going to say better, but it's just a good thing to have back, I suppose. Do you know what I mean? Like,
so the year is coming to an end soon. What is your favorite music of 2021?
Ooh,
that's a hard one.
Yeah, it is. I don't know, in terms of stuff that's kind of come out this year, Kojak's album Town's Dead is amazing. The Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars collaboration, I've heard a lot of that and I'm really into it. I'd like to invest more time into listening to that. But I've also just discovered a lot of old music that I listen to now. Like, there's an artist named D'Angelo, he's an album called Voodoo, and I got like really into that, like, do you know what I mean? And the likes of like Mos Def and all that, and that stuff I wouldn't have really listened to before, but I'm kind of really getting into it. That kind of like jazz, neo soul kind of sound, like, I'm really getting into a lot of that. Another one I want to really invest time into listening to is Tyler, the Creator's new album. I want to set time to listen to that as well. But favorite project, yeah, definitely Town's Dead. And yeah, just older stuff that I've kind of discovered, like Voodoo by D'Angelo and all that. Just always listening to new stuff, really. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
Is what you're listening to the same genre as the music that you're making?
At the moment, yeah, definitely. I'm always kind of like, every new thing I listen to in terms of like hip hop and R&B and neo soul and even some indie stuff, like, I'll always want to take elements of that and apply it to my own music. So I feel like a lot of that is kind of those influences kind of like shining through in the stuff I'm creating at the moment, and I really like that. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to like hide what the inspiration I'm taking. I kind of like feel like it's good when artists kind of wear that on their sleeve in a way and put their own spin on it. So that's definitely what I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean?
Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, Yeah, definitely to just be more critical of the music I'm making, and to just release a lot more stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Just release so much stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm hoping I can do that. Because I'm in my final year of my degree now, and that's kind of that takes up a good chunk of time. Like sometimes, but, you know, I do want to set aside more time to kind of just focus on making music and releasing just a lot more stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I just, you know, it's nice to see how people react to it. Like, do you know what I mean? It is really, you know.
Do you have any upcoming projects? Can you give us some exclusive information, maybe?
Yeah, of course. I have a new single that I have finished that I want to release with the help of my friends Dara Mack and his friends. It's called Hardman, and I'm hoping I can release that in around January. And I'm working on a project with my friend Normac, who's a very frequent collaborator of mine at the moment. He's a very good friend and he's a very talented guy. We've got a few songs we're working on, and we've got a little EP that we're hoping to release early in 2020. And one of the songs off that we actually did live at the gig, and the reaction was insane. So that's one thing I'm just so excited to put out and finish off. Like, do you know what I mean?
Nice, looking forward to it. Well, thank you. That's sort of my question for you. Do you have maybe anything to add? Maybe where we can find you on socials and where we can find your music?
My Instagram is at James Shannon Music. The same on Spotify and SoundCloud, just James Shannon. And yeah, Twitter at James Kjol. James EOL. That's Irish.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Julia. I appreciate it.